Is he in calendar here? Because otherwise I'm going to have to talk to him afterwards as well. Peter, has he been here today?
He should be coming. He's upstairs.
Okay. Well, do you want to wait for him? Because otherwise I'm going to have to speak to him afterwards.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hello.
Hey Gary, where did we lose that one, do you think?
I think they probably got 20 or 30 too many. We dropped a couple of catches, having won the toss, inserted them on what was a wicket that was offering plenty. We were disappointed that they got 160.
Was the 6-day break significant, would you say?
I don't think so, no. We look at the start of the tournament, if you'd said we'd have a 6-day break and we'd be qualified for a World Cup, we'd have snapped your hand off. So we had 3 days off where, it's been a long 5 weeks that we've been away from, and guys needed that little bit of time off to refresh mentally, and I think that was good for us. And then we came back and trained. We had 2 good training days. I don't believe, I suppose Holland had a bit of momentum going into the game, having won their playoff match, but no, I don't think we can look at that.
Their spinners obviously were key, 5 for 36, I think it was.
Yep, they bowled well. There was assistance there in the pitch. There was assistance there the whole way through, and I suppose that's why we were disappointed to be chasing 160.
We didn't bowl well enough?
I don't think. I think the guys would put their hands up and say that we didn't bowl well enough today. We weren't. We didn't bat well enough either. But to be chasing 160, I think was. I just said out there that I think 140 would have been a good chase on that wicket. I saw something say the stats: if you win the toss and bat here, you've got more chance of winning. But spikes were going in on that surface. It was soft. The groundsman said that he wetted it extra because he's got 4 games to play on it. Everything was pointing to bowling first.
Will it be easy to get yourself up for tomorrow's game? Or?
It's still a T20 international. Obviously, it's not the game we wanted to be playing in, but it's still a game representing Ireland, and we whether it's PNG or Namibia, we've got to go out and do a job tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be a case of getting the lads up for it. Every time we go on the pitch, we'll be right up for it.
Peter Alpano, ESPN Cricket Info. Gary, historically, going back to the match in Bangladesh in 2014, it's now 4 straight matches in ICC tournament play, with the 2015 semi-final in this tournament at Malahide, 2016 in India, and now this game. On paper, almost every time Ireland looks like they have a better squad, and yet Netherlands keep on coming on top. Is there anything you can pinpoint, just thinking back to these occurrences, why they keep on coming out on top?
Well, we beat them in Oman last 2-3 weeks ago. We beat them in. I'm right in saying we beat them in Oman in February as well, and they beat us in Malahide. So it's 2 all this year. Unfortunately, it was the one that mattered most. We lost. They're a very experienced squad. I don't think Peter Saylor would be too happy with you saying that we're a much better side than them. I think they're a very, very good side. They've got a lot of experienced county cricketers. When you add in Colin Ackerman, Ryan Tendescata, Rula van der Merwe, that's 3 very, very good cricketers. And I've said before, I think we've got a good side as well, but we're young and inexperienced, a lot of us. And I think that's what you get from inexperienced sides. You get some days you can be very, very good, and on other days you're not so good. And I think hopefully in a couple of years' time or less, because we want to be playing well in the World Cup, and we'll reap the benefits down the line.
On that point, the lack of experience with a lot of newer faces, regardless of the fact that you won your group, did you feel like they were the favourites in this game?
We didn't really think about that, to be honest. It's not something we thought about going into the game, thinking that they were favourites or we were favourites. I still maintain if we played our best game that we would be there or thereabouts. I think we've got a lot of talent, but we perhaps just haven't fired as well as we could have.
A few words about Boyd Rankin, perhaps today. I thought bowled really well, charging around in the field, superb, and excellent game for him.
Yeah, he's been brilliant all tournament, to be honest. He's really shown the other bowlers the lengths that are required in T20 international cricket. If you're not going for your Yorker, you're not going for your bouncer, you can't leave the stumps, and you got to bowl top of the stumps, and that's something that Boydie did really well. He's obviously got a point of difference. He's 6'7", so that helps. And the pitch was offering a bit today, and I think he made the most out of it.
Diving on the boundary to save a run as well.
That's only what's expected, DT.
Final question: the decision to bat second, was it sort of touch and go? Because as you mentioned, batting first here often wins. Was it based on what you thought the pitch would do?
As I said, look, Pete will tell you, but I'm pretty sure they were going to bowl first as well. The pitch was soft at the start. The spikes were going right in. And we spoke to the groundsman, and I said he said he wet it more than usual because of the 4 games he's got on it. It wasn't a difficult decision at the toss, I'll be honest. Everything was pointing to bowling, and unfortunately their experienced players played well. We also dropped 2 catches. I think if we take those 2 catches, that's maybe 20 runs less that we're chasing, and then it becomes a different game. It still would have been a good chase, but I think chasing 139 instead of 159, it becomes a bit easier. Pete, don't you be throwing me under the bus here and saying you were going to bat now.
Cameras? Good to go? Yeah.
Hi Peter, Curtis Dion with Crick Buzz. So congratulations again, and well, I know that a lot of the time we seem to be second guessing your decisions after games that you've won, so apologies for that. But yeah, Gary said in he said at the toss it looked like it was going to be maybe a bit of a slow wicket, it was maybe going to be something that would favour spin, but we still went all out with pace in the power play. Maybe that was the only part of the game where it really hard it might be non-stop. Can you explain the reason behind that?
Yes, I can. We've obviously done an analysis on Ireland. They generally score quite heavily against spin, especially against left-arm spin. Their strike rate is about 140 to 150 in that. And to be fair, with the way our bowlers set up, especially in Fred and Tim bowl those cutters, we feel we can defend with 2 men out, where obviously spin with 5 men out is going to be more tricky, and we didn't want to lose any overs out in the middle from Rolf and myself. So that was the reason. And to be fair, when we've played on slow wickets at the ICC Academy, the pacers have done really well, and we felt spin was going to be more important in the middle.
Yeah, just follow up on that. You won now on a wicket that was pretty quick and getting a lot of bounce quite convincingly, and you've shown that you can do it now as well on wickets where maybe the sort of wickets that the Dutch have always traditionally been quite strong on, these sort of slower ones. How happy are you with the balance of your team going forward, not only to the World Cup, of course, in the final tomorrow, but just in general?
Well, as I said, I don't think the betting has fired as well as we would have liked. But I think today, especially Ben took it quite deep to about what was it, the 13th, 14th over, and obviously then Ryan Tenduschade came in, played with intent, and to have him and Rolf set sort of in those last 3-4 overs, yeah, then you can really see you can take anything down. And yes, today it wasn't one of those wickets where you can free flow and every shot is going to go to the boundary. And like you said, we're quite used to that. But I think the way we set up, we had a perfect platform being 100 after 15. Unfortunately, we just lost Ben at that stage, but I thought we were well set for sort of 140 we felt was par, 150 would have been good, and I think 160 we pretty much, betting him out of the game is very rich to say, but I thought 160 was very, very defendable.
Just last question from me. Of course, the business end of the tournament's already sort of done, and qualification was obviously the principal goal for all the teams here. Just how different is it, the sort of atmosphere on the field between the teams and in the teams themselves, playing games where now you have nothing to lose and only really a final to win? How is that different, the atmosphere on the field like that?
Well, I think both teams came in with the attitude to win this tournament. So this game was still quite important. Every game you play for your country is important, in my reckoning. But in saying that, I think they fought pretty well. They just didn't quite nail it today. I mean, it's not very Irish to drop those catches that they dropped. And as Gary just said, I think it was the difference between 140 and 160, because Tendo, I don't know, he scored about 20 after that himself. So yeah, it's just, I think it was just one of those days where some things didn't quite go our way for Ireland and Holland in the field, because we also dropped two quite simple catches. But it's quite difficult here when those lights come on and it's still catching your eye, but it's looking for excuses. Those are catches that should have been taken. But I don't think it was the team's taking it lightly. It's just mistakes that happen, and you obviously don't want to drop catches, but it happens.
Peter Delapena with ESPN Cricket Info. Congratulations first off, Peter.
Thank you.
I think I touched on this in the previous press conference with you, and I'm not sure if you already asked it to Gary, but historically, going back to the game in Sialhat in Bangladesh in 2014, 2015 semifinal, 2016 in India, just the tournament play, you guys continually have the upper hand over Ireland, even though recently in Oman you lost them, and you lost them in February in Oman as well. But when it comes to ICC tournament matches, for some reason you guys rise to the occasion. Just thinking back to your participation in these matches over the rivalry over the course of the years, is there anything you can pinpoint as to why the Netherlands team keeps on coming out on top against an Ireland team that's better funded, better resourced, and on many occasions has more talent to draw from on paper?
To be honest, I think both teams are quite equal. And I think now the sort of tables have changed, where Ireland was always the more experienced team and we were like more talented or up and coming, where if you look at our team now, there's quite a few more experienced guys, and Ireland bringing in those youngsters. The only thing I would say is that we both know each other quite well, and as you can see, the plans are set for pretty much every batter, every bowler, everyone knows whatever, and I think we just come on top just by playing better cricket on the day, not because we fancy Ireland more. I think it's just that every time we've played them in the ICC tournaments, we just come out on top, because every game has been close fought. It's never been easy, and yeah, we've just been winning. I don't think there's anything in particular, to be honest.
But if you think back to like 2014, was there something about that? Prior to that, whether it was at these qualifiers or in other events, Ireland was regular beating the Netherlands. Was there something about that game that brought down a bit of mystique or a fear factor, intimidation factor that has more confidence the more times you come up against it?
Putting it like that, most definitely. I remember the days where I think we haven't beaten Ireland between 2005 and, well, like you said, 2014, when they always came up with Trent Johnston and Ed Joyce, all the guys that played back then. I think then Ireland was so much on top that everyone that played them, not so much fear, but there was a nagging thing that they would just win. When we beat them in Bangladesh, which was a freak of a game, actually showed us then that they are vulnerable and you can still beat them if you play your 100% game pretty much. So in saying that, yes, that got sort of the monkey off our backs pretty much. Just playing against them, saying we can beat them. But I think ever since, like I said, the games have always been close. It's never been a walk in the park or whatever, and I would never ever say that, because Ireland is a very disciplined unit. But I think we, sort of get our games together very nicely when we play them.
One more for me about Fred Clausen. He's sort of flown under the radar in this one, partially because he sat out multiple games with dehydration. Coming in, he was a very key bowler throughout the last year, and in the semifinals, stepping up the way he did to fill that role with the 2 wickets and 2 balls. when Malvin Meeker and Brandon Glover have been at the forefront early in the tournament. Just what, from your perspective, has his impact been on this game, and just about the way he's come back from that dehydration, which multiple players have had to deal with on a difficult basis in this tournament?
Well, obviously Fred is a very good guy to have around the team. He always goes his hardest, and as you can see, bowling today, especially at first over, was great, but coming back in the middle, getting those 2 wickets was quite vital. I think they would not seal the game, but pretty much put it in our favour. And Freddie, I think this year playing for Kent, maybe he put some things in his mind where he changed a couple of things tactically. Coming back to when we played Oman, we experimented a little bit. I've had quite a number of chats to Fred about his role in the team, and I think he's really taken that on board the way we think he should be bowling for us. And as you see now, it's all coming quite nicely, and I think it's nice for Fred to fly on the radar and not be the spearhead of the attack, because now he can just go about his business quite quietly, and like you said, he's been doing it very well.
You've spoken a lot through the tournament about having these plans to batsmen and bowlers. What sort of balance do you maintain between these plans and your own maybe gut feel to an extent, especially in a tournament where there are quite a few unknowns?
Well, to us there are not many unknowns, because we've got footage on all the players. But like you said, obviously we talk about nailing our plan A, and most of the times it has worked. I think today, bowling to Paul Sterling and Kevin O'Brien, I think we just didn't nail what we wanted to do. What we were doing quite well is hitting the top of the stumps, and I think we were just in between lengths. We were out a little bit too full, or just a little bit short of that length, and when we bowled the bouncer, it wasn't quite at the grill with the badge. But gut feel obviously comes into play a lot more when you sort of go through the middle, and you never know what's going to happen in a T20. If a player obviously comes in and just obviously strikes a couple of sixes, that might set you back the way you want to go about things. So I'm just saying, plans are there, that's always nice, but in a T20 game things can change quite quickly. And I think today the spinners bowled very well. There was obviously Rolf and myself from the other side. Was, we haven't quite nailed it probably as a spin unit throughout this tournament, and the pace bowlers weren't quite on today, but it was quite nice for the spinners to come on and do the job today. But yeah, as far as it comes to plans, it's nice to have a plan A, but we have got B, C, and that, like you said, that's more a gut feel thing. Happy? Good. Oh.